Hey guys, welcome back to Release the Craftin. Priscilla here for a fun, exciting episode of my channel show. I don't know how to open these anymore. If you guys can't tell, I have absolutely become unhinged with how I open up my videos now. But here we are. I have got a package. And what's in this package, you might ask? Well, there's only one thing. So let me tell you about it. I have been recently presented with an interesting issue from my friend Lori over at PewDiePie Designs. I will link her channel down below because this is a collaboration, believe it or not. It's a collaboration and a little bit of a challenge because Lori has a problem, you guys, and I think it's a problem that we can all relate to as crafters, that there are sometimes an item that you buy over and over and over again that you don't actually need, but when you see it and it's on sale, like, hey, you might as well. But there comes a point in this like accumulation hoard process where you realize you have too many and now you don't know what to do with them. And I hear some of you out there being like, envelopes, Priscilla, you have too many envelopes. And that's true, I do. I have a ton. I buy them all the time. I have not stopped buying them. I just keep using them. That's the game. So when Lori talked about this on her channel and saying that she had all these paper dolls and she didn't even know what to do with them and she just keeps buying them and buying them, I was like, send me some and I will help you use them. And so here we are. She sent me some. That's what's in this package, is a ton of paper dolls. And you guys, I have never seen this many paper dolls at one time. I don't keep paper dolls. I get rid of them. So I think I'm the perfect person for this challenge because I use the heck out of paper dolls to the point where I've never had a stack like this before, but I'm excited for this. So we're having a paper doll brawl. And if you guys don't know what that is, I didn't know what it is until we came up with it. So here it is. What we're going to do is I'm going to make a video. I'm going to show you guys how to use a paper doll using a special prompt. And then Lori's going to take that video, she's going to watch it, and then she's going to use my prompt and one of her own prompts to make something different. And then the ball's going to be back in my court, right? And then I'm going to have to take her new prompt, come up with another prompt, put those together, and make another video. I know it sounds crazy, but trust me, it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want to craft along with us, grab your paper dolls and just follow along. There's nothing going to be printed out or anything like that. This is a sort of open-ended collaborative challenge type thing to help Lori use up her paper dolls, to share some inspiration, have some ideas, and also now I have so many of these, I gotta use them, right? So that's what we're going to do. So for this first video, there's only going to be one prompt to use, and that prompt is going to be fire. Because in our conversation, our little chat, Lori had mentioned that the only thing she could think about doing was burning their heads off, and I was like, challenge accepted. So she has given me fire as an option, so we're going to use fire, like literal fire. You don't have to use literal fire. If you do use literal fire, all the regular disclaimers, don't burn your house down because I said so. I didn't say that. Fire safety, fire extinguishers, water, the things, all the things. Do that. Do not burn yourself or your house, or your craft space. Like you need it. It's papery. We don't want to set stuff on fire, but I'm gonna set stuff on fire because I love setting stuff on fire. I've talked about this with specialists. It's okay. So let's get into this paper doll brawl. We're gonna pick out some paper dolls. We're gonna make some stuff, and we're gonna set it on fire. And then it's gonna jump over to Lori, and it's gonna be in Lori's court, and she's gonna have to use fire and her own prompt to make something different. So, like I said, I will link her below, so make sure you go follow her, check out what she does, and then we'll see what happens when the ball's back in my court and the brawl continues, because I'm going to keep going until I'm out of these. So that's what we're doing. Transition away. Okay, guys, let's play with fire. I'm kidding. No, I'm not kidding. We're going to play with fire. But first, we're going to make some tags. And I, unfortunately, wanted to do this as a live tutorial. I thought it would be really fun. But then that day, the wind was winding. And then the fire trucks were fire trucking. And then my neighbors were playing music all day. So it ended up having to be sped up. So sorry for that. I want to sort of mix it up on this series and do some live tutorial, like live craft with me type videos. Not necessarily tutorials. And some sped up ones, but the first one has to be sped up because the noise was noising on the day I started recording. So here we are. At any rate, I have some hefty cardstock. It's probably like 80-pound cardstock. It's not super hefty, but it's a little bit heftier than my normal brand of cardstock because I'm going to put a lot of layers and do a lot of work on this, so I want the card to hold up. And essentially what I'm going to do is just glue down a bunch of layers of paper on both tags, but also leave the very edge, the torn edge, unstuck so that I can mess with it later. And I'm trying to go for like an old-timey vibe for this one. They look like an old-timey couple, so I want to play with that. But also I'm just going to use the stuff that I have on hand, and I happen to have a bunch of these browns and stuff like that on hand because it was all piled up on my desk. I just used the stuff that was right next to me for this because I really didn't want to have to dig around and look for stuff. And it works out great. It absolutely works out. So I have some book page. I have some of this like paper that was used to wrap up this music book. I have some of this like leftover craft paper that I was using as a paint like catch page for painting. So it's got like some gesso on it. It's got some gold paint on it. It has some blue on it, which I'm not like super thrilled about, but I try to cover it up the best I can. I have some book page that has no special significance, so I'm gonna add that to it. I think there's like the cover of some of that music paper, and basically I'm just building up these layers and then working smaller and smaller and smaller on every layer so that you can see just the edges of every paper that I'm working with as I get closer. And then I'm going to get a little bit more sporadic as I get to the edge of these tags so that it's not like 100% just like here's a bunch of layers, but I want there to be like this sort of staggered effect. I want this to look like sort of a tumultuous relationship because I took our couple, I cut them apart. I have separated our couple. And so in my brain, the story is sort of that they were very close, but now they have been torn asunder. They're very volatile together. And every time they come together, stuff like burns. It goes up in ashes and smoke, and you can see the layers. This is like the history of the relationship, or like how things get torn apart when they're together. That's sort of the vibe that I'm going for here. That's the story that I'm trying to tell with this tag. It's not like that serious, but that's what was in my brain as I was working through this. And I wanted to add this little bit of gold because it's a cool way to offset all of these neutrals, but also because I wanted it to be like there is a little bit of good here, a little bit of sparkle in this relationship. It's just like when it's good, but when it's bad. And sometimes it's really bad and they're really hot-headed, and that's why like in this process they sort of burn through each other every time they're together. So I added some walnut stain distress spray, and then I added a little bit of water to get it moving around, just to sort of make all of those different layers come together as a more cohesive thing, and not just like, hey, you slapped a bunch of pieces of paper here. Now it looks like they were all intended to be there. They all became one a little bit when I got the spray on there. And then I'm also not being careful with my heat tool because, again, the prompt here is fire. It's burn. And, like, I want to burn the paper with my heat tool with actual fire in a minute. But I will say be careful and do this in a well-ventilated space because you do not want to be breathing in all these fumes, especially if you're using painty papers like I am. Words are really hard. Like I am. You don't want to breathe in burning paint. So I definitely made sure like I was very well ventilated. I also have a mask that I wear to keep from breathing this stuff in because I have weak baby lungs and cannot breathe that in. Also be very, very careful. Make sure that you have water. Make sure that you have a fire extinguisher and everything at the ready when you start doing this stuff. I am taking my lighter and I am just sort of setting the paper on fire. I'm using this other piece of that heavier cardstock, the little scrap piece, to smother out the cinders so that doesn't keep burning as I'm working, because you might think that the fire is out because you can't see it, but it's actually still there. So I like use that paper to smush it down until I feel like it's not hot anymore. That's what I'm doing. Granted, this is hot. It is fire. So if you have very sensitive skin, you might want something more substantial than a piece of paper to prevent you from having to touch the burning embers of the paper before you. Also, it's something to note. I am actively trying to trash this craft mat so I can justify buying a new one because I hate how wobbly mine is. It's got a bunch of lumps. So at some point, I'm going to start melting stuff to my craft mat and actually ruining it. If you do not want to ruin your craft mat, do not do this on your craft mat. You could do it on like a cookie sheet because the metal would not catch fire or melt. So safety, safety, safety. I cannot stress that enough. Please do not burn down your house because you saw something I did and tried to replicate it and then were not prepared for fire. That being said, this is a relatively safe process as long as you have like all your stuff, all your ducks in a row. So don't be scaredy, but also like be smart if you were going to replicate this. And then I decided I was going to burn my dolls too. Like they need to be burned by each other to continue this story that I'm telling here. Because it's not just like their life being torn apart. They're also like burning through each other every time they're together, right? They're very toxic. I will say though that burning these dolls did make me realize that these dolls are way more flammable than any of the paper I used. So I don't know what they're made of, but it's easy light and continues to burn. They actually stayed burning longer than any of the other paper I have lit on fire to this point. I will also say my house smelled like burnt paper the entire night, despite having everything open and cross ventilation and all sorts of stuff. So, just brace yourself. This effect is very worth it. I am very happy that I did it, but also it's stinky. But, once I get everybody sufficiently burned, and I love his little skinny burnt up leg, I love that. I kind of like was a little bit mad that I burnt her hand off. I should have known because this paper just stays lit for whatever reason. But at the end, I ended up being very happy because it does sort of show the severing between their relationship. It looks like she's like reaching out, but like this is the final time like he's burned her again, and now her hand has been lost. She's lost a little bit more to this horrible relationship. Even though they love each other so much, they're just so bad together. And I love this story that I'm telling here. I think it's really fun. It's really extra for this tag, but I feel it. I feel it in this storytelling. I did decide that I didn't like where that fabric was, so I just pulled it up. You don't have to commit to the bit all the time. But then I decided that the edges on the gold foil paper were not as fun as they could have been. So I tried to burn just the papery parts and not the gold foily part. I don't know what that stuff is made of, but I just wasn't really confident in burning it. It burnt a little bit, but I managed to just sort of focus on the paper being there. And I do like the pop of color without it like overtaking the neutrals on the background. This was really fun to make. Honestly, I really love how these tags came out. And then I had to restore the burned edges I did and bring that back. So I sort of deconstructed the tag a little bit by burning some of the edges without actually sacrificing the tag shape. And I feel like I did the same thing for the people as well. And then I decided I could actually make this fabric work by wrapping it around. So I just wanted the raggedy, like jaggedy parts, but I didn't actually want to like cut a little tiny piece off. So I think this works, and I like that there's a little bit of texture like that carries over to the back. It's very tactile now, so there's a lot of visual interest, and now there's like digital interest with your digits, not in the computer space. And then I decided that some of the edges were still a little bit pristine, but I didn't want to burn them all, so I just went and added a little bit of vintage photo around the spots that I thought needed a little extra browning so that it wasn't just so plain looking, and very satisfied with that. And then I had this quote on one of the little scraps of the book page that says, what does it say? Now I'm trying to read it on the screen and I can't because I'm not holding it right. Hopefully I show you guys what it says. It says something like all the cliches were about us or something like that, because I thought it was very fitting for this tumultuous relationship. That this like little toxic relationship had a quote that carried across the two, so that they're connected even though they're apart. And yeah, that's it. I didn't show you guys the picture. Hold on. Let me pop it in to the final one. I'll pop a picture in so you guys can see what the final result was, because I don't know what I was thinking. But that's going to be it for me, you guys. Make sure that you jump over to Lori's channel when she posts, or make sure you're subscribed so that you know when she posts her response to the paper doll brawl. And we'll see you guys in the next one. I appreciate your faces. I can't wait to see what Lori makes, and I can't wait to see what I have to make afterwards. So I will catch you guys then. Happy crafting. Bye.